Welcome to the stream. Saturday afternoon stream. We have Higurashi on the docket. We got later. I'm going to just play some Yakuza 2. Yakuza Kiwami 2. Don't make the mistake. That's what we're doing. That's what I decided today. Tomorrow, not entirely sure. You know what? Blueprints might not be gotten to this weekend. I was talking last night about how, like, schedule-wise, like, we're running into several things outside of the stream. I'm fucking trying to play Mario Kart 2, and I'm sucking at that. So I'm playing games on my own time. Fucking Zenless Zone Zero, it released 2.0 update. So, like, I'm slowly plugging away at that. So I've got a lot of game-wise, a lot of things going on. So I don't have enough time to, like, outside of stream put together the sigils and stuff for blueprints. So it probably makes the sense to cut out blueprints this weekend. Unfortunately, we'll get to blueprints sometime next week. Yeah, today we're going to do some reading. I don't know how much. Going to go kind of based off vibes. And then we'll switch to Yakuza for the rest of the afternoon. I've got things going on tonight. So none of that will matter. Where is that? Perfect. Yeah, we'll just read for a bit. Then chill with some Yakuza. Which means then tomorrow is probably, we'll at least probably see some more Deltarune Chapter 3. And then maybe double up depending on when we start, what else I have going on tomorrow. So at least some Deltarune, and then, who knows, maybe even more Higurashi reading, or more Yakuza, if we want to do 2 games. Again, kind of depends. Let's see. So I think we only just barely started scratching the surface of Kageboushi. Is that what it is? Kage. I always just shorten it in my head to, like, Kage. Kage. This arc, we got, it seems like it's focused more on the police investigation trio of, seemingly, it's going to be, Tomoe, that's her name, yeah? And Oishi, he's back. And Akasuka, he's back. So that's... Oh, I was going to check that. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted by a notification on the phone. So yeah. Investigation trio. Police squad. I assume this is what I'm assuming a lot here. I assume we're basically going to get a slight, I don't want to say retelling, but the events of what we saw in the last arc where things ended bad. I assume this is, I mean, it already said this is like the answers arc to what we just read, right? So I assume this is going to be the police squad actually intervening to the point where it won't be what we saw in the last arc. I've already got it all figured out. So let's read. Again, don't know how long this is going to be. Depends on how the mood strikes and how much Yakuza calls to me. 2 weeks before the incident at the Hatakeyama family home, Wednesday, June 22nd, 1983. Oh, so it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Flashback. Couldn't remember the most basic word. Come on, no need to hold back. Step right in. Wait a minute, Chisato-chan. Yeah. Since Nasumi was still looking hesitant, despite having come all this way, I swooped in and sternly pushed her into the shop. Natsumi stumbled into a nearby chair. Maybe I used too much force while pushing her.
何するの、千里ちゃん。
What was that for, Chisato-chan?
危ないでしょ。
That's dangerous.
おっとっとと、こいつはすまねえ。
Oops, my bad.
今日のちーちゃん絶好調すぎて、ついつい勇み足しちまったい。
Chi-chan is in peak physical form today, so she's on fire.
そのまま土俵の外へ飛んでいけ。
I love referring to myself in the third person. Then go ahead and burn into ashes. Arriving a little late, Tomoko entered inside with her usual exasperated tone, and then she turned to face her host watching TV behind the counter and greeted him with a familiar good morning.
おお、久しぶりだな、牧村。
Oh, it's been a while, Makimura.
佐伯は珍しくもないが。
Unlike Saiki, who I'm seeing too much of.
ちょっと先輩、そんな言い方はないでしょ。
Hold on, buddy. You don't mean that, do you?
まるで私がここに入り浸っているようじゃないですか。
You say that like I'm a frequenter. A frequenter.
昨日と一昨日に連続して、喉乾いた、お腹空いたとかなんとか言って。
Remember the high school girl who was saying I'm thirsty and I'm hungry nonstop yesterday and the day before?
特大パフェとミックスジュース3杯も無銭飲食していった女子高生がいたはずなんだが。
And then ordering an extra large parfait and 3 glasses of mixed juice, but didn't pay for anything in the end?
それって誰だよ。
Who are you talking about?
お前だよ。
You, of course.
あれ、そうだっけ。
What? Really? I turned my back and whistled to play dumb. I could hear Tomoko and Natsumi sighing, but ignored it for the time being. Actually, this store is a coffee shop run by the wife of Yamashina-san, who works as my father's chauffeur. And the upperclassman here with us, Mamoru Yamashina, is his son. I like this place because we can be equals here without him calling me lady. Although, if you ask him, he'll say I don't feel like you've earned the title of lady. What does he mean by that? Now, what do you mean? Meme. Well, at first I was going to this shop intending to help out with business, but at some point I started putting everything on tab, leaving him to actually pay for me. Though I occasionally help out here as a waitress, so I do return the favor a little, I'd like to think.
でもいいの、たまこちゃん。
But is this okay, Tomoko-chan?
確かうちの高校の校則だと、制服着たまま喫茶店に入るのって禁止のはずじゃ。
Isn't it against our high school's rules to enter a coffee shop wearing our uniforms?
ああ、ここは特別。って言葉はちょっと語弊があるけど。
Oh.
まあ大丈夫よ。
Oh, this place is special. Well, not exactly, but we'll be fine.
ここのマスターさんって私たちの知り合いだから。
You see, the host of the shop is an acquaintance of ours.
お、君は見慣れない顔だな。
Hmm? You don't look familiar.
ひょっとして牧村の後輩か？
Are you from the grade below Makimura?
いえ、私は。
Huh? No, I'm... Natsumi was in a panic trying to deny that she was younger than us, but she tripped over her words and nothing came out. Like usual, she was shy as shy can be when it came to new people. Her face was bright red and she dejectedly hung her head. Oh, brother.
何言ってんのさ先輩。夏美は私たちと同い年だよ。
What are you thinking? Natsumi's the same age as us.
よく見なよ。ほら。
Come on, look closer. Eh? I was itching there. Ah! After saying that, I grabbed the collar on Natsumi's sailor uniform and held her school badge side by side with my own. The badge colors at our high school change on a 3-year cycle, so by looking at the color, you can easily tell if another student is in your grade level. However...
こら、千里。早く話しなさい。
Enough, Chisato. Let her go right away.
夏美の胸元、ちょっと見えそうになってるって。
The way you're holding her, you're revealing a little of Natsumi's chest. Not my chest. Immediately after Tomoko said that, Natsumi shook off my hand in a panic and slumped down in shame. She then glared up at me with tears in her eyes. Chisato-chan! Chia!
いや、悪い悪い。ちょっと力余っちゃったい。
Oops, my mistake. I was pulling way too hard.
許してちょんまげ。
Please forgive me, my lord.
この大関スケこまし。ちょっとは自重しろ。
Be a little more careful, king of philanderers.
あ、山科さん、紹介が遅れましたね。
Oh, sorry for the delayed introduction, Yamashina-san.
この子は君吉夏美。私たちのクラスメートです。
This girl's our classmate, Natsumi Kimiyoshi. After delivering a fist to my head, Tomoko turned to the host with a radiant smile. In response to that, Natsumi quickly got up and bowed while saying, "Nice to meet you."
で、この人は山科さん。
And this is Yamashina-san.
去年までうちの高校の先輩で、私もいろいろお世話になってたの。
He was a senior at our high school until last year, and he's helped us a lot.
よろしく君吉さん。
Nice to meet you, Kimiyoshi-san.
まあ牧村よりもむしろ佐伯の世話の方が多かったような気はするがな。
Well, not so much Makimura, but I feel like I gave Saiki a lot of help.
いや、それほどでも。
Come on, you're gonna make me blush.
いや、褒めてないから。
No, don't interpret that as praise. Tomoko didn't hesitate to respond briskly to my typical goofball joke. She was truly my oldest friend. She knew me well.
で、この店は守先輩の実家でね。先輩は臨時マスターとして働いてるってわけ。
The shop is run by Mamoru's parents, and he sometimes works as a host here temporarily.
だからここに入るのは先輩の家に遊びに来たようなもんだから全然問題なし。
So, coming here is like coming over to Mamoru's house. It's no problem at all.
そうなの？
Is that so?
たまこちゃん。
Tomoko-chan?
まあ厳密には違うんだけど。
Well, not exactly.
なんかあったら千里が責任取ってくれるわよ。
But if anything happens, Chisato will take responsibility.
おいこらたまこ、こういう時は一連卓勝だろ。
What the heck, Tomoko? Aren't we supposed to be in this together at times like these? Truly my childhood friend, not even showing a shred of kindness or mercy. Besides, why does Natsumi need Tomoko's validation? Doesn't she have faith in me?
いや、普段が普段だから仕方ないでしょうが。
No, it's like this every day, so I guess it can't be helped.
まあそんなことよりここに突っ立っているのもなんだからどこか座りましょう。
Well, we're all still standing here, so let's grab a seat.
山科さん、このテーブルいいですか？
Yamashina-san, is this table alright?
まあどこでもいいよ。
Yeah, anywhere's fine.
ちょうど今ランチ終わって休憩に入るところだったから。
Lunch just finished up, so I was about to take a break. After saying that, the host, Mamoru, made his way around the counter, toward the entrance, then turned over the hanging clothes sign. This is probably his way of being considerate. He may be brusque, but I like this brand of adult kindness of his.
とりあえず注文は
Anyway, what can I get you?
アルコール以外の冷たいやつならすぐに出せるぞ。
I can get you any cold drink other than alcohol right away.
じゃあ私と夏美はミックスジュースで。
And Natsumi and I will each have a mixed juice.
千里は鍋焼きうどん大盛
Chisato can have a large helping of udon stew.
り。意味わからんわ。
What is that supposed to mean, huh?
ああ、それと何かケーキ余ってますか？
Do you have any more of those cakes?
これは私払いますから3つお願いします。
I'll take 3, and I'll pay this time.
ケーキ
Cake?
何かお祝いでもやるのか？
Are you celebrating something?
ええ、まあ。
Yeah, well... I looked over toward Natsumi and winked playfully. An embarrassed yet happy smile appeared on her face as she timidly played with the tie on her sailor uniform. Sailor uniform.
それじゃあ君吉夏美くんの面談見事クリアと超ハッピー羨ましいぞこの野郎。
Well, here's to Natsumi Kimiyoshi-kun getting through her interview and to her super happy and enviable catch.
な、栄養をゲットしたことを祝してささやかで貧乏臭いながらも辛抱して。
I know this place isn't much and doesn't have a lot to offer, but nevertheless...
佐伯、お前だけケーキなし。
No cake for you, Saiki.
素晴らしくゴージャスなこの会合に乾杯。
A toast to this wonderful and gorgeous place, then. Cheers!
乾杯。
Cheers! Kampa. Shouting together in chorus, we raised our glasses of mixed juice and clanked them together. I began to drink it all at once. It was wonderful.
冷たくて美味しい。
Ah, so cold and delicious.
先輩、おかわり。
Mamoru, give me a
お
refill.
前な、結構手間かけて作ってんだからもうちょっと味わって飲めんのか？
Take it easy. Put a lot of effort into making that. Could you slow down long enough to taste it?
というかその口元の泡拭きなさいっての。
Or at least wipe the foam from your mouth.
そのストローは飾り物か。
Do you think that straw is just there for show? Mamoru and Tomoko charged in, but I paid them in I just could not get that out. Mamoru and Tomoko charged in, but I paid them no mind and continued to smile. I'd appreciate if they just smiled and excused a little mess. Right, today was a wonderful day. A wonderful day where the boy who Natsumi had longed for ages confessed to her, reciprocating her feelings. And the boy who confessed to her was someone I knew well. In fact, I knew him all too well, because that boy was my childhood friend, Akira Todo. He's a fantastic artist, and he's won several prizes in national competitions. Of course, he's the pride and joy of our high school, but Tomoko and I are also proud of him as a friend. Proud to have him as a friend. We're inseparable, much as he may begrudge it. As for the boy in question, we actually realized that he had a crush on Natsumi a while ago, but stayed quiet about it until today. Part of it was because Akira himself swore us to silence, but I also saw it as a little bit of a trial imposed on the two of them. However, Natsumi and Akira passed the test and reached the goal today. As a friend who knew both of them, I felt obligated to support them, so I dragged her out to this usual haunt of mine to celebrate.
それにしても千里、あんたはいくらなんでもはしゃぎすぎ。
Even so, Chisato, you seem to be in unusually high spirits today.
もうちょっと静かにお祝いできんのか？
Can't we celebrate a little more quietly?
何を言うかタマコ。
What are you saying, Tomoko?
お祝いってのは少々ハメ外しすぎてやかましいぐらいに騒ぐのが一般常識って決まってるんだから。
Celebrations are supposed to be special occasions. Everyone knows that making a lot of noise is standard practice.
この程度なら許容範囲よ。
So this level is perfectly acceptable.
そんな一般常識、見たことも聞いたことも食べたこともないっての。
I've never seen, heard, or eaten anything suggesting that is common knowledge.
すみません山科さん、千里が迷惑かけて。
Allow me to apologize for Chisato's annoying behavior, Yamashina-san.
いや、もう慣れた。
Nah, I've gotten used to it.
ま、飲み食いは俺のおごりとしても、店内の掃除とかはちゃんと体で払ってもらうけどな。
Anyway, the food and drinks today are on me, but I'll have her pay for it when her body but I'll have her pay for it with her body by working and cleaning the shop. I was so confused where that statement was going.
体っていや
Yep, just like that. With my body? Oh my.
やめろその不思議なくねくね踊りは。
Stop wiggling your body around like that.
気色悪いっつの。
It's really gross. With a look of disgust on his face, Momoro set a second glass of mixed juice down in front of me. I thought that was a decent attempt at flirting, but I guess it didn't get through to him.
千里ももう少し黙って、この怪しさ大爆発なリアクションがなければモテるのにね。
Chisato would be popular with guys if only she were a bit quieter and didn't have all these overblown reactions.
緊張令状の肩書きが号泣してるわ。
The director must be weeping for his daughter's reputation.
何を言う。
What did you just say?
肩書きがワンワン泣くわけないでしょ。
You think anyone would cry about my reputation?
ほんと、あんたの頭の中は宇宙のようにフリーダムよ。
Really, the inside of your head must be as empty as a universe.
なんのこっちゃ。
What's that?
でも、二人のおかげで助かったよ。
But the two of you are a huge help.
事前にレクチャーしてくれてたから、受け答えも結構余裕でいけちゃった。
I was able to answer a lot of questions thanks to the notes we prepared in advance. Natsumi smiled while saying that. Well, career interview was a big deal for her, so she must be so relieved to have it behind her.
でも、三崎大学なんて全然聞いたことなかったんだけど、調べてみたらすごく素敵な大学なんだね。
I'd never even heard of Misaki University, but it seems like a wonderful college after looking it up.
校舎も綺麗だし、キャンパスは公園みたいだし。
The school buildings are beautiful, and the campus looks like a park.
でしょでしょ。
I know, right?
しかも狙いは新設の学部だから難易度はそこそこのレベルだし。
Plus, you're aiming for the newly established department, so the difficulty level seems reasonable.
しかも空調完備で学業にはもってこいの環境。
And not only that, but it's fully air conditioned, making it a perfect environment for studying.
先物買いだからブランド力はまだまだだけど、名より実ならあれ以上の大学はない。
They don't have much brand recognition since they're making a long-term investment, but if you're looking for quality over prestige, there's no better university than this. Actually, when Natsumi first accepted our offer to help her prepare for the career interview, Misaki University wasn't our first option. But we decided to proceed cautiously for the time being. Since her dad works at a trading company, we would recommend either a business school or one with centered around an English department. At least, that was my initial plan. However, on Sunday, a couple days back, I met up with Mamura here before heading to the library to meet up with Natsumi. And when I casually asked him about school aspirations, I was shocked by his reply.
あ？その大学って現役生だと内部進学者が圧倒的に有利だぞ。
Huh? They say that students from the affiliated high school have a huge advantage in passing that university's entrance exams on the first try.
それに最近国際化なんとかで 英語関係の学部の競争率って上昇傾向だから、外部で受けるのって国公立志願者の力試しか滑り止めのやつらが大半のはずだけど、大丈夫か？
Besides, recent internationalization has raised the competition levels at undergraduate English departments, so those outside who are accepted are mostly either those aiming for national and public universities or those looking for a safe school. So is that really okay? My face went pale when Mamura told me about this. I spent so much time listening to his latest information that arrived an hour late to my meeting with Natsumi. Thanks to that, he told me about a fairly good-looking university with a new department that didn't favor second-time applicants, which I subsequently recommended to Natsumi. It really was a close call. If I had advised her with my superficial knowledge and told her some random school's name, I'm sure that insidious teacher would have lashed out at her. Tomoko and I can brush aside anything she says and laugh it off, but Natsumi isn't like that. Natsumi's grades aren't terrible by any means. In fact, it's pretty amazing that she was able to overcome the handicap of transferring in the middle of the school year. No joke. Still, Natsumi's family, especially her mom, seem to be making a big deal about her career and grades, so they won't be satisfied unless she gets into a fairly reputable school. According to what I heard later, she needed to get into a 4-year university on the first try. Junior college was out of the question, and they wouldn't accept her aiming to get into getting in on a second try. Very harsh conditions. That's why, when I saw her come out of the career interview with a big smile on her face, it made me feel delighted from the bottom of my heart.
まあ、その分大学じゃ勉強頑張らないとね。
Well, you'll have to study really hard to make it to that make it at that university.
合格した後も4年間気が抜けないわよ。
Just because you passed doesn't mean you can let your guard down, you know?
はーい、了解です。
Alright, roger that.
まあそれはともかくとしてだ。
Well, that aside.
夏美
Natsumi? I carefully drank my juice out of the straw, then I quickly turned to Natsumi, who was lost in thought about college life. With a smug and refreshed smile on my face, I asked her,
合格のためにも知りたいんだけどさ、
For future reference, I'd like to know,
アキラに告白されてどこまで行ったの？
how far did you go when he confessed to you? Huh?
決まってるでしょ。健全な男女交際のことよ。
It's obvious, isn't it? It's a healthy act for any relationship.
A
A?
B
B?
C
C?
それとも Z？
Or maybe Z? But I couldn't tell what Natsumi pictures as a healthy relationship, but Natsumi was already choking on the juice caught in her throat. Cough. Cough. What are you so suddenly fucking I was about to say emojis. Not right. Symbols. Her face was bright red, and the second half of the sentence she cried out was completely unintelligible.
何驚いてるのよ。
Why are you so surprised?
これは青少年として当然の素朴な疑問ってやつでしょ。
It's a natural question for young people, isn't it?
ねえタマコ、
Right, Tomoko?
私に同意を求めるんじゃない。
Don't look to me for agreement.
告白されたばかりの女の子にそんな質問するなんて、あんたの発想の起源は美少女ゲームか。
Where'd you get that idea to ask a girl who just received a confession like that? A dating sim?
美少女ゲーム？
Dating sim?
なんじゃそりゃ。私が聞いてるのは
What's that? What I'm asking is
A、
A
赤くなる。
A. Blush.
B、びっくりする。
B. Get startled.
C、知らんぷり。
C. Feign ignorance.
Z、ゼロ距離射撃っ
Or Z. Fire from point blank.
てことなんだけど。
That's all.
なんじゃそりゃ。
What's that?
ブゴゲ。
But even Tomoko blushed as she came in with a punch. Was I really asking something so weird?
まあいいかな。
Sometimes, Chisato is so overbearing and so obnoxious as a character to read, and then sometimes it hits the mark for me. I do like the humor a bit. Mamoru says, oh, are you
とり
okay?
あえずケーキといってもこれくらいしかないんだがいいか？
Anyway, this is the only cake we have. Is that alright?
うわー、おいしそう。
Wow, it looks delicious. Looking at the cake Mamoru brought over, Tomoko let out a joyful sigh. It was a brightly colored strawberry cake, the kind you'd see on display in the front shelf at a bakery.
実はさっき隣町のエンジェルモートの視察ついでに買ってきたんだが、 調子に乗って買いすぎてな。
Actually, I bought it at a place called Angel Mort on a business trip to the next town over. Oh, we know that place. But I wasn't thinking and bought way too much.
残飯処理で申し訳ないが、よかったら食べちゃってくれ。
Sorry for pawning leftovers off on you, but if you don't mind, then please have some.
いいんですか？
Is that really okay?
こんな高そうな。
It looks really expensive. If I'm remembering correctly, that must be the new item Angel Mort added this summer. I hear they're so limited in stock they sell out in a flash. Mamoru must have bought this for his younger brothers who love cakes.
いや先輩、
That's not necessary.
これは。
This is...
どうした？
What's wrong?
何か問題があるか？
Is there a problem?
あ、いえ。
No, nothing. Mamoru looked me in the face and nonchalantly smiled. Of course, he saw right through me. We've known each other for ages. Oh man.
んじゃ、先輩のご好意に甘えていただきましょ
Well then, let's all show our appreciation for Mamoru's kindness.
う。ね、たまこ。
Right, Tamako?
そうだね。
Yes, of course.
ありがとうございます、山科さん。
Thank you very much, Yamashina-san.
ありがとうございます。
Thanks a lot. Tamako seemed to have realized what was up, while Natsumi gratefully bowed to Mamoru. Then, after we watched him go back behind the counter, the three of us grabbed our forks, opened our mouths wide, and scooped up some cake.
おいしい。
Delicious! The exquisite, subtle flavor spread across my mouth, and a smile suddenly spread across my entire face. As expected, the cake's taste did not betray its appearance, as they say. Does anyone actually say that?
この町に生まれてよかった。
I'm glad I was born in this town.
こんなケーキが食べられるのはこの町に住んでいるからこその特権だよね。
It's because I live in this town that I have the privilege of eating this cake.
そうだね。
That's right.
エンジェルモートは前の町にもあったけど、こんなに美味しいケーキはなかったかな。
Angel Mort has a shop in my old town, but I don't think they ever had cakes this delicious.
あれ、エンジェルモートってチェーン店だったの？
Huh? Angel Mort is a chain restaurant?
へえ、この町以外にもあるんだね。
I didn't know you could find them outside of this town. Yeah,
確か私の町のところが本店だったと思うよ。
I'm pretty sure my old town was their primary location.
そうなんだ。
Is that so?
でも品揃えとセンスは絶対本店よりこの町の方が上だよね。
But the selection and style in this location have the main one beat.
流行をいち早く掴んでおしゃれに反映させてるんだからさ。
They move on to the latest trends right away, and they're always so fashionable. Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Suddenly, felt something poking my toe, so I looked up. When I did, I saw Tomoko throwing a glare of condemnation in my direction from across the table.
まずい。またやっちゃった。
Oh, this is bad. Done it again. After seeing Natsumi's downtrodden expression, I mentally cursed myself. I only recently noticed after Tomoko pointed it out to me, but Natsumi has been really self-conscious about the fact that she came from a rural town. Whenever we talk about jumping on latest trends, a little sense of incompatibility creeps up, like we have a different set of values. However, it's become a rift that has plagued Natsumi with a constant sense of alienation and an excessive inferiority complex.
とはいえ。
Although, Natsumi is probably overthinking it. That was what I first said, and even now I still think that a little bit. But even so, Tomoko seemed really upset when I said that, and angrily told me this.
千里のマイペースはいいところもあるけどさ。
Chisato, the way you keep things marching to your own tune is charming and all.
そのせいで相手の気持ちに鈍感なのは全然良くない。
But as a result, it's also left you unwittingly inconsiderate of the feelings of others. That's not admirable at all.
あんたは意識してないかもしれないけど、自分以外のものを比較対象にして自分の幸せをアピールするやり方。
You may not realize it, but the way you compare things other than yourself and constantly talk about what makes you happy,
聞く相手によっては笑えない時もあるよ。
sometimes the people you're dealing with may not find it so amusing.
別に私は自分と夏美を比較したりなんか。
I'm not trying to compare myself to Natsumi,
してる。
but it's what you're doing.
実際に夏美がそれすごく気にしてる。
Actually, it really bothers Natsumi.
あの子をよく見てみれば。
Why don't you try watching her a little more closely? After that conversation with Tomoko, I've been keeping a close eye on Natsumi's reactions. From that, I learned that conversations us from the city wouldn't think twice about could be a source of discomfort or unease for those who grew up in the country. I love this town. I was born and raised here. My father made a name for himself running a major hospital, and there are a lot of people who can get along regardless of differences in their age or gender. I go out for meetings with my parents often enough that I have an idea of where everything in this is in this town. Everything about this town is deeply entwined with my life, so I feel deep pride and attachment toward it. So I think it's natural for that to manifest in the things I say. Even so, I should never hurt my precious friends by showing off. I've thought that, so I've usually been careful. But once again, I failed.
でもまあ
But, well,
うん
yeah. I have to make up for this. Though I act casually on the outside, on the inside my mind's racing to coming up with a way to cheer her up. And, after realizing that I didn't know what was safe to say after all, I glanced toward Tomoko to ask for help.
たく
Jeez. Ah, Tomoko. Don't look at me with those bug eyes. Give me a hand here.
ねえ夏美
Hey, Natsumi.
夏美の知ってるエンジェルモートもウェイトレスさんってあの格好なの？
Does the Angel Mort you know have their waitresses dressed up like that?
え
Huh? Natsumi raised her head when she heard Tomoko's question. Noticing her reaction, Tomoko smiled bitterly and continued speaking.
だってエンジェルモートの売りってウェイトレスさんのあの過激な格好でしょ？
You know how Angel Mort puts their waitresses in those sensational outfits as their selling point?
私も前に一度見たんだけどなんというかこう見てる方が恥ずかしいっていうか
I've seen them once before, but I felt a little embarrassed just looking at them.
ああうん
Yeah.
本店の方もそんな感じかな
It's like that at the main shop too.
生足むき出しだったからなんかスースーしてて
They leave your egg. They leave your legs completely bare, so they get kind of chilly.
うん
Hmm?
なんか描写に実感こもってるな
That sounds like a detailed description.
ひょっとして夏美経験ありか
Maybe you have some personal experience with this, Natsumi? Though I thought I was being a little forceful, I dove into their conversation. I was worried that Natsumi would reject me, but her eyes widened as she overreacted.
ないってば
Of course not.
私の知り合いにアルバイトしてる子がいたからその子から聞いただけだよ
I was friends with a girl who worked there part-time, and I just heard it from her.
そうなの
Oh, is that it?
でも夏美も着てみたら案外似合うかもね
But who knows? Maybe that outfit would actually look pretty good on you, Natsumi.
似合わないよ
No, it wouldn't.
私そんなにプロポーション良くないし
My proportions are all wrong.
いやいや夏美
No, no, Natsumi.
よく聞きなさい
Listen carefully.
ツルペッタンはねこれからはステータスなの
From now on, Serpent will be a status to be proud of. Huh? Natsumi cocked her neck in confusion, not knowing that the word meant flat-chested. All right, things are going well.
いいかね夏美くん
Listen well, Natsumi-kun.
あえて夢や希望を打ち砕く発言をさせてもらうとすれば成長の終わった体なんて金出しゃ誰だって見れるの
Don't you dare talk of shattered hopes and dreams. Your body's still growing.
あんたはまだ若いから自覚はないかもしれないけどね成長途上の青い美しさってのは触れ切った果実よりもずーっと価値があるものなのよ
You may not realize this yet since you're still young, but a budding beauty is worth way more than ripe fruit.
こいつは
Oh boy. Oh, you didn't.
例えば例を挙げてみよう
Let's give an example.
お茶の葉を摘み取るとき高級品として最も大事に扱われるのはどの部分だ
When you're picking tea leaves, which are considered the most valuable?
広がりきった新緑か
Is it the deep green leaves that are spread wide open?
いいな
No!
夏も近づく88夜それこそ芽吹いて小指ほどに育った新芽にこそ旨味と味わいが宿るというではないか
Right when I was giving the example, right when I was saying that she could be, you know, funny sometimes, she goes on a rampage like this. 88 days into summer, only the budding sprout the size of your little finger will hold that fantastic taste.
別の例でもそう
Another-
魚のブリ
Another example, yellowtail.
出世魚といって成長するごとに名前を変えるこの魚が一番美味しいとされるのはちょっと成熟したかなと感じる途上のハマチでしょうが。
The fish that they call by different names every time it grows larger. Do you think the most mature form is the most delicious? Wrong. The young, still growing hamachi are the best.
ちなみに私は寿司屋でもハマチが一番好きだ。反論は認めない。
And by the way, when I'm at a sushi shop, I'll only accept hamachi. No substitutions.
それ以外にも似たような事例はまだまだ限りなく、それこそ文字通り星の数ほどもあるが。
And there are countless other examples aside from those, literally as many as there are stars in the sky.
あんまり続いてもだれるだけなのでこの辺にしておこう。
If I keep going, I'll never stop.
だいたい女性の体はボンキュッボンが理想的なんていうやつもいるが、そんなのは体脂肪が乗り切ってブヨブヨの肉で言えば霜降りのラード。
In general, while there are female bodies with the ideal boing, squeeze, boing setup, oh boy, they often end up becoming flabby sacks of meat and lard.
確かに味はあるかもしれないけど、食べ過ぎると成人病でお医者さんのお世話になる可能性が高いジャンクフードだ。
They may indeed have spiced them, but it's like how overeating junk food will land you in a hospital room as an adult.
食の飽和時代と呼ばれる現代社会においては百害あって一理なしのまさに人類の敵なのよ。
They call it the saturation age of food in modern society, and it'll do great harm with no advantages. It's the enemy of all mankind.
で結論から聞きましょう。
Look, just get to the point.
何が言いたいわけ？
What are you really trying to say?
私はそこらのなんちゃってメイドより
Instead of seeing those so-called maids everywhere,
夏美のエンジェルモード姿が見たい。
I want to see Natsumi dressed in an angel morph costume.
猛烈に見たいのだ。
I want to see it so bad.
最近習った漢文帳で言えば、我夏美のあで姿を見るを欲す。
In the words of a Chinese proverb I recently learned, I want to see Natsumi in all her beauty.
どうだ、これで伝わったか。
You get it now?
なんならドイツ語でもロシア語でもサンスクリット語でも私はこの思いを翻訳してみせるぞ。
If you like, I could translate my feelings into German, Russian, or Sanskrit too.
山科さん、
Yamashina-san,
何でもいいからこのアホを黙らせて。
can you do anything to silence this idiot?
睡眠薬持ってない？
Do you have any sleeping pills?
バカに効く薬はない。
No medicine can cure stupidity.
あ
Natsumi was half astonished and half confused, but a smile formed across her face. At least the dark expression I caught a glimpse of a few minutes ago has gone away, I think. As long as that's the case, I don't mind playing the fool. As long as I can make her smile.
ところで夏美の前に住んでいた町ってどんなところなの？
By the way, Natsumi, what kind of place were you living in before?
おお、私も知りたいな。
Oh, I want to know too.
この町のエンジェルモートとそこの本店とぜひぜひ味比べをしてみたいもんだ。
I'd love to know how this town's Angel Mort compares to the main location.
え、
Huh?
そうだね。
Yeah, Just then, Natsumi's calm eyes widened as she looked off in another direction. She looked frozen in terror. Unsettled by the sudden change in her demeanor, I looked over my shoulder in the direction Natsumi was looking. And then...
シシボネ市と周辺にお住まいの皆さん
Oh
は
no.
どうぞ冷静な対応をお願いいたします。
Everyone living in and around Shishibone City, please stay calm. The TV set behind the counter was broadcasting the news.
夏美？
Natsumi? But Natsumi continued staring at the TV as though she couldn't hear my voice. They were showing some country landscape. Looking closer, I noticed the name Hinamazawa Village on the bottom of the screen.
繰り返します。本日未明、シシボネ市ひなみ沢地区で大規模なガス災害が発生。
I repeat, early this morning, a massive gas disaster occurred in the Hinamazawa district of Shishibone City.
死者・行方不明者が多数出ている模様です。
Preliminary reports have identified a large number of people pronounced missing or deceased.
現在のところ生存者は見つかっておりません。
At the present time, no survivors have been found. No survivors have been found. We all absentmindedly stopped to listen to the newscaster's report. An entire village was destroyed overnight. Huh. It's a tragic accident for sure, but I've never heard of Hinamazawa Village. That's why I don't have any strong feelings about the incident. However,
夏美、どうしたの？
What's wrong,
大
Natsumi?
丈夫？
Are you okay?
このニュース、夏美と何か関係あるの？
Does this news mean anything to you?
うん、なんでもない。
No, it's nothing.
ごめん、用事思い出しちゃった。
Sorry, I just remembered I have errands to run.
私、帰るね。
I need to head home. I mean, call me weak or whatever, but it's kind of crazy to have the mindset of being like, oh, a tragedy happened and a bunch of people are dead or gone missing. Well, I have no ties to that village, so it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to me. Kind of crazy. I see a natural disaster killing a bunch of people, wiping out a village or something on the news. I'd be like, oh shit, fuck. At the very least, I'd be like, oh, that's sad. Natsumi's awkward smile looked especially out of place. Her complexion was completely pale and drained of blood, and her eyes looked hollow and unfocused.
ちょっと、夏美。
Hold on, Natsumi!
ごめん、
Yeah, sorry.
平気だから。
It's no big deal. After saying only that, Natsumi grabbed her bag and began to run out of the store, forgetting to even acknowledge Mamura behind the counter. I wasn't like Natsumi. She was usually a lot more polite.
どうしたんだろう、夏美。
What happened with Natsumi?
なんか変だったけど。
There's something strange about her.
あのさ、タマコ。
Tamako?
何？
What is it?
私、また、夏美にひどいこと言ったかな。
Did I maybe say something terrible to Natsumi? I suddenly began feeling worried and nervously asked Tamako. I tried to be careful not to say anything weird, but maybe some terrible words slipped in there without my awareness.
なんだ、そんなこと気にしてたの？
What? Is that what you were worried about?
大丈夫だよ。
You were fine.
あの子が怒るようなことは何も言ってなかったから。
What? No. You're fine. You didn't say anything offensive to her.
本当に？
Really?
本当だって。
Really? Hearing Tomoko say it a second time, her words finally reached my heart. But if that's the case, what on earth just happened with Natsumi right now?
確かにちょっと変だったよね。
That was certainly a bit strange.
何かあったのかな。
Do you think something happened?
そりゃ元いた町の近くで大災害が起こったんだから心配になったんじゃないか？
Well, yeah, a huge disaster just happened near her old town. Who wouldn't be worried about that? Huh? Hearing Momoro's answer from behind us, Tomoko and I turned at once to face him.
守先輩、それって。
Momoro, what was that?
なんだ、知らなかったのか？
What? You didn't know?
彼女が言ってたエンジェルモートの本店がある町って沖宮。
She said she was from the town with the primary Angel Mort location, Okinomiya.
このひなみ沢村の隣町だよ。
That town is right next to Hinamazawa village. After hearing that, Tomoko gasped with a look of horror on her face. And I'm sure I had the same expression. Get it together, you guys. Career aspirations. Don't mind if I do read about career aspirations. Huh?
それじゃあ、タマコも陸王大を受験するっての？
Then you're taking the exam for Rikyo University too, Tomoko?
うん。
Yeah.
というか、この辺りの校区の子は大体受験するんじゃない？
I mean, don't the kids from this area usually take the exam?
入学するかどうかは別にしてさ。
Even if they're not planning to enroll? I get it. Unlike the metropolitan area and the Kansai area, it's a great place to get used to taking entrance exams, isn't it?
そうですか。
Well then, is that so?
どうせタマコさんたちにとっての滑り止めは私にとっての第一志望でございますよーだ。
Then I guess the backup location for you and everyone else is actually my first choice.
変な言い方しないでよ。
Don't say such strange things.
それに私は陸王大受かったらちゃんと入学するつもりなんだからね。
After all, if I do receive an invitation to Rikyo University, I'll accept it.
あんまり東とか西とか遠い大学に通うつもりはないの。
It's not very far from here. I'm not interested in traveling to a remote college anyway.
そうなの？
Is that so? It was a bit surprising. Rikyo University is hardly a bad college, but Tomoko is the top of our class, so I would have expected her to aim a little higher. Of course, Tomoko probably feels obligated to look after her younger brothers, and her parents can't offer much in the way of financial assistance, but I'm sure they could be kind enough to help.
私ずっと昔から学校の先生になりたいって思ってるの。
For the longest time, I've wanted to be a teacher.
で、先生を目指すんだったらどこに入ってもそんなに変わらないでしょ？
So, the college I choose doesn't make much of a difference if I want to be a teacher, right? I wonder just how big how big of a Tomoko fan base there is. You know what I mean? I wonder. What's the Tomoko fan base out there?
だから近くてやりがいのある勉強ができそうな陸王大の教育学部はぴったりの環境なのよね。
Rikyo University is nearby, and their Department of Education is likely to be challenging, so it'd be a perfect college environment.
そうは言ってもさ、いい大学出てないと出世できないよ。
You say that, but wouldn't you have an easier time advancing your career at a better university?
もともと先生って割に合わない仕事だし、
And teaching is not a well-appreciated job.
肩書きがなきゃ
Ain't that the
一
truth?
生上役に頭下げて安月給でこき使われるのがオチだと思うけどね。
You'll have no title, so you'll have to bow to a lot of superiors. And I think their average annual salary is declining too.
まあそれはほどほどに。
Well, that may be partially true.
でも尾形先生みたいに上昇志向じゃなくって安川先生のように何でも相談に乗ってくれる先生になりたいかな。
But I'm not interested in career advancement like Ogata-sensei. I'd like to be more like Yasukawa-sensei, where students feel comfortable talking to me about anything. Man, good person, Tomoko.
私誰かに頼られるってのそんなに嫌じゃない方だからさ。
Maybe by the end of this, I'll be a Tomoko fan. Because I absolutely hate the idea of relying on others.
いや、涙が出るほどの委員長気質だね。
Wow, seeing the class president's determination brings a tear to my eye. Though I said that to poke fun at her, I really did believe that Tomoko was a perfect fit for teaching. A desire to take care of others, and to guide them with your wisdom. Those instincts are what a student needs most in a teacher. Well, that's a skill I couldn't develop no matter how hard I tried.
で、千里は
What about you, Chisato?
陸王大を目指すからにはなんか大きな目標があるんでしょ？
Since you're aiming for Rikuo University, I assume you have some major goal.
そりゃもちろん。
But of course!
私の目標はズバリ世界征服。
My goal is total world domination.
私が真面目に答えたんだからちゃんと真面目に答えな。
I gave you a serious answer. I need you to do the same.
ちょっち恥ずかしい理由なんだけどな。
Okay, it's a little embarrassing though. No, it was actually a pretty pathetic reason, but I couldn't lie to Tomoko, so I warily told her.
いやね。あの子の近くでしょ。
Well, it would put me closer to that girl, wouldn't it?
あの大学ってさ。
That college, I mean.
近く？
Closer? Oh. Thanks to our years of friendship, Tomoko was able to understand what I was getting at. Right, because she knew about that girl.
私もね、どこの大学ならどうって希望はないの。
I don't have a lot of ambition about what school I want to go to.
私は病院の院長の娘だから、将来はある程度決まってるし。
I'm the hospital director's daughter, so my future is already somewhat set in stone.
まあ、医学部に行ける頭はさすがにないから、せめて浪人して薬学部入って薬剤師の免許ぐらいは取らないと格好はつかないでしょうけどね。
Well, I don't really have the brains for medical school, but I can at least enroll in the pharmaceutical department and work toward becoming a licensed pharmacist, right? My parents have no heir other than me, and I don't have the skills to successfully manage a hospital. Of course, it would be natural for me to marry someone who works at a hospital.
大学卒業して就職したら、なかなか忙しくて会いに行けなくなるでしょ。
Once I graduate from college and get a job, I'll be too busy to visit her, won't I?
だったら4年間くらいはあの子の近くにいられたらってね。
That's why I'd like to stay near that girl for the next 4 years. Interesting.
千里。
Chisato. Sounded ridiculous. It was totally selfish. Wanting to see that girl every day sounded like nothing but trouble. Even so, I...
も
Ah, that's enough.
うなんか暗い話になるから言いたくなかったんだってば。
I didn't want to say anything because it's such a depressing story.
恨むよタマコ。
Do you at least feel sorry, Tomoko?
あんたは相変わらずだね。
You're always like this.
いつになったらその場所から前に進み出せるの？
When will you be able to move on? I couldn't understand what I just heard. At least for now, I understood that I was doing this for that girl's sake, not just my own.
むしろ私が知りたいよ。
Actually, I want to know that too.
いつどうやったらこのでっかい荷物を下ろすことができるのかってね。
When and how will I be able to let go of this heavy baggage?
そんなの簡単じゃない。
It's not easy.
あんたが自分から背負うのをやめればいいだけ。
You yourself need to be the one to stop shouldering that burden.
違う？
Don't you agree?
それができないから苦労してるんじゃない。
And I can't do it. That's why I'm struggling. Tomoko sighed and then looked back to me. I understood what she was saying. I've sunk into a trap, running around in circles mentally. Really, this is like usual, just who I am. Oh no, am I gonna feel sympathetic towards Chisato? Am I gonna become a Chisato fan? Go. I was debating if I should take a BRB, but let's just slide right into this. Saturday, June 25th, 1983. The bookshelves were narrowly lined up inside the records room of the Metropolitan Public Safety Division. Countless files and bundles of documents are stored here. There are public security incident reports and related material from as far back as the end of World War II and up until today. Yet, despite the sheer amount of effort spent maintaining these records, their content is extremely rarely made public. Most are destined to stay buried away and remain secret for all eternity. Not because the cases go unsolved or because the truth is never found. If anything, the investigations that have happened here have exposed a large number of trends, structures, or fraudulent records of big-shot politicians, high-level bureaucrats, and political organizations. However, no, because of that, countless investigations are suspended without being made public. Because the subjects listed here often involve people who have a lot of influence in the political and economic world, so of course many of those people band together to try to find common ground because they have that authority, and occasionally commit fraud. So what would happen if these documents were inadvertently revealed to the general public? Maybe people would grow less trusting of politics and the government would lose its authority. If that happened, it would have a devastating effect on the population, and the federal system would be crippled beyond control, and there would even be a risk that the chaos would lead to total collapse. Politics, economics, diplomacy. It's no exaggeration to say that the so-called dark history of this country is stored in this room. As a result, not even police officers are allowed to freely enter and leave this room. A strict ID card and password check is required for entry. Oops. My toe carelessly bumped into the side of a protruding bookcase. The gaps between the shelves have space wide enough for two people to stand side by side. I made my way through the passage and reached a small quiet door at the end. There stood yet another security check. I undid the lock and opened the door leading to the 7th reference room. And inside the room, off in one of the corners, stood a desk separated by shoulder-high partitions. My office. Ah, Commissioner Akasaka. Good morning, sir. A lone detective watching TV near the window noticed my entrance, stood up, and saluted. It's been 1 year since I was promoted to police superintendent, finally getting used to the title of commissioner. Good morning. Are you alone, Nimi-kun?
関さんと川島さんは昨日国会議事堂でのデモ隊の対応で午前様でしたからね。
Yeah, Seki-san and Kawashima-san were up late yesterday dealing with some demonstrators in front of the Parliament building.
今日は午後1で出勤するそうです。
They should be here around 1 o'clock.
相変わらず勤勉だな。
They're as diligent as ever, eh?
危険度も低い市民団体のようだから、特に警戒の必要はないって言ったのに。
Though I told them there shouldn't be any real need for security since it sounded like a low-risk citizens group.
まあ総動員で追っていた例の超特大の山がばらけちゃってからしばらく暇続きでしたからね。
Well, it's been some time since we had a full mobilization. Not since the last major incident.
二人とも勘が鈍らないようとにかく体を動かしておきたいんだって言ってました。
Two of them said that it would prevent their instincts from getting dull and that it would be good exercise.
あ、コーヒー入れますか？
Oh, can I get you some coffee?
あ、頼むよ。
Yeah, thanks. Detective Nimi filled a paper cup at the coffee machine by his desk and said, "Here you go," as he sat it on my desk. Sitting in my chair and taking a big gulp, I bitterly thought back on the incident Detective Nimi just mentioned. We, the police, should have been overjoyed not to have any criminals that need catching or crimes that need trying. However, that case in particular was halted by an order from the top brass. In other words, some political influence made them decide to abandon the case before completion. I'm sure some political pressure was involved in the decision. Evidently, some corrupt people were involved on the inside. Nevertheless, taking into consideration social pressures and disadvantages, the case was shelved. It's not like this was a first for me or anything, and I could understand the necessity to compromise in the interest of national order. Still, it's a fact that the more pride we have in maintaining justice, the harder it is to accept these reasonable circumstances.
それはそうと管理官。
Anyway, Commissioner,
確か今日から休みだって言ってませんでしたか？
weren't you planning to take a vacation starting today?
いや、休みは取り消した。
No, I canceled my vacation plans.
休暇中に行こうと予定していた場所が
The
立
place,
ち入り禁止になってしまったからね。
the place I was planning to visit on my vacation was declared off limits.
立ち入り禁止。
Off limits?
ああ。
Oh. Detective Nimi quickly realized what I meant and turned his attention to the TV screen. He had been watching some variety show with flashy announcers. 3 days have passed since the sudden volcanic gas disaster struck Hinamizawa village. Though we have yet to receive a follow-up report from the self-defense forces carrying out rescue activities, the state of the villagers is looking increasingly grim. The newscaster divulged the details of this macabre reality. When I first heard the news early in the morning on June 22nd, everyone, myself included, felt too stunned to say anything, but now that 3 days have passed, I was able to watch a bit more calmly. Still, this was an unprecedented catastrophe, unlike anything since the end of the war. Every TV station reported progress in real time, organizing special information releases every night. Countless people on screen were shouting, weeping, roaring, grieving. These were probably the residents of the next town over, Okinomiya. Actually, landscape behind them looked quite familiar.
何度見てもひどい話ですね。
No matter how many times I see it, it's still such a terrible story.
ポンペイか浅間山の映画を見せられているようです。
It seems like a documentary about Pompeii or Mount Asama's eruption.
ひなみざわ村だけでおよそ2000人が暮らしていたはずだ。
There are around 2,000 people living in Hinamizawa.
それが全員絶望なんて。もはや悲劇どころか悪夢としか言いようがない。
Their entire situation was entirely hopeless. It's no longer a tragedy, but a nightmare.
お偉方も上に下に大混乱です。
It's a huge mess for the big shots too, from the top all the way down.
閣僚の非常対策本部は救援の準備とか情報統制とかでてんてこまいだし、野党は現内閣の危機管理体制の怠慢を議会で追及するって息巻いてますね。
The Cabinet Emergency Response Headquarters is doing their best to provide relief and information control, but the opposition parties are jumping at the chance to accuse the current cabinet's crisis management system of negligence.
未明に起こった大災害にしては政府はよくやったと思うんですが。
Though I think the government did well handling a major disaster that struck at the crack of dawn. I guess the government's quick response shortly after the disaster struck was praiseworthy. The end result was the worst possible scenario, total annihilation of the villagers, but in the face of natural disasters beyond human control, nothing more could have been done. Simply managing the chaos and riots in the surrounding area could be considered exemplary work. Nonetheless, proving what Detective Nimi just said, the opposition party members were on TV, rushing towards the microphone to vent their anger. Their blame-seeking escapades made them look like vultures growing fat from the unhappiness of others.
異常時にこそ人間の進化が現れるというからな。
Well, they say that a person's true value only appears during an emergency.
もっともそういう私たちだってあれと違う何かができるというわけでもない。
Of course, that doesn't mean they could have done anything differently.
まあそうなんですけどね。
Well, that's true, but
それでも 人事のようにただ見ているしかできないってのは
Even so,
辛いものだな。
even so, it hurts that all I can do is just stand back and watch like it's someone else's problem. Before I knew it, my seething regret had me clenching my fists so tight that my nails began to dig in. Come to think of it, the detectives who went out to respond to the demonstrators, Seki and Kawashima, had a strong sense of justice as well. That's why they wanted distraction from their own powerlessness and went out on an assignment that had nothing to do with their record.
Akasaka-kun!
Akasaka-kun!
Huh?
Huh? Just then, I heard a call from behind and turned around. I saw Kanao-san standing there, another commissioner like me, but with more experience.
おはようございます、加納さん。
Good morning, Kanao-san.
おはよ
Good morning.
う。なあ、ニミ君。コーヒーはいいよ。
Ah, Nimi-kun, some coffee would be nice.
すぐに移動するから。
I need to head out soon. Noticing Detective Nimi immediately rise to his feet, Kanao-san let out a gentle smile to inform him there was no need for formalities. He was my senior, and I've relied on him for the past 5 years since I was assigned to the Public Security Division. He and I are the same rank, but he has an extensive educational background and a diverse network of personal connections. Plus, his solid character and long history of achievements are all well recognized. He likely has a future as a successor of Director Kataoka.
今日は休みだと聞いていたからね。
I can read.
ちょうどよかった。
I heard you were off today, but this is perfect.
相談したいことがあるんだが、ちょっといいかな。
There's something I'd like to discuss. Do you have a moment?
え
Huh?
あ、はい。
Of course. After we made... That was a weird sound. After we made our way into the empty conference room, Kanao-san locked the door behind us. Oh yeah, that locked door sound effect always sounds like a gun being reloaded to me. I could easily tell from his facial expressions and demeanor how serious the topic he was about to discuss.
悪いね、出勤早々に。
Sorry for bringing this up so early.
時間はいいかい？
Are you good on time?
あ、大丈夫です。
Yeah, no problem.
それで
So what's this about?
うん。ちょっとね。
Yeah, well... Kanao-san's eyes wandered as he tried to find the right words. Then he sat down and lit a cigarette. Following his example, I took a seat and turned toward him, waiting for him to speak. Silence continued for a while longer. How strange. Is it really that difficult to talk about? Right after I Kanao-san crushed the butt of a cigarette in the ashtray and began to speak.
まだここだけの話にしてもらいたいんだが。
I'd like keep... I'm missing a word there. I'd like keep this between us.
今朝、奥の官房長官が倒れたそうだ。
Chief Cabinet Security Okuno allegedly collapsed this morning. What? I thought I had mentally prepared myself, but I couldn't help but gasp. The news he provided was just too shocking and unexpected.
病状は重いのですか？
Is his condition serious?
すぐに病院に運び込まれたが、現在絶対安静とのことだ。
He was rushed to the hospital, but he's strictly bedridden at the moment.
夕方には病状が発表される予定で、数日以内の辞任はほぼ確実らしい。
The details of his condition are scheduled to be announced this evening. Resignation seems all but certain in the next few days.
突然ですね。
This is so sudden. I couldn't think of anything else to say. I sighed and looked up to the ceiling. The fluorescent lamp was flashing erratically, nearing the end of its life. Secretary Okuno was a leading authority in the largest faction of the current ruling party. In fact, his protégés occupied important posts in the present cabinet. That was testament to his influential voice and his tremendous influence on the cabinet. Also, as a former employee of the defense agency, he'd worked non-stop day after day to manage the task force and hold press conferences in the wake of the recent disaster. Could his overwork have taken its toll?
後任は誰ですか？
So, who's going to take his place?
やはり子飼いの梨本副長官ですかね。
I'd assume his protege, Deputy Secretary Nashimoto.
いや、近いところに聞いた話だと、梨本氏も同時に辞任するらしい。
No, I've heard from a close source that Nashimoto is going to resign at the same time.
後任は今のところ、大谷副長官の昇格で調整しているそうだ。
For now, the plan seems to be to promote Deputy Secretary Otani.
大谷副長官
Deputy Secretary Otani, huh? That was another surprising bit of information. Nashimoto was Secretary Okuno's right-hand man, and his experience and accomplishments were more than worthy of the title of cabinet secretary.
しかし、確か大谷氏は奥の派じゃなく今村派の議員だったかと思いますが。
However,
通りましたね。
However, I thought Otani was more of an Imamura faction supporter, not an Okuno supporter. I'm surprised they're going through with it.
誰も反対しなかったんですか？
Did nobody raise an objection?
まあ、若干の懸念を主張するのもいただろうが。
Well, of course there were some concerns,
基本的には満場一致だな。
but the decision was practically unanimous.
信じられない。
Unbelievable. Chief Cabinet Secretary Okuno and former Foreign Minister Imamura had drastically different policies, especially in foreign affairs. Even though they were members of the same party, they infamously fought like cats and dogs. There was strong speculation that Secretary Okuno used his deep ties to the Prime Minister to have Imamura dismissed as Foreign Minister, and their feud extended to the lawmakers working under them, so I don't think Secretary Okuno would so easily agree to having a political rival as a successor, even in an emergency.
それに千葉厚生大臣も黙ってはいないでしょう。
I can't imagine Minister of Health and Welfare Chiba stayed silent, right?
確か彼は奥野長官とは盟友関係にあったはずです。
He was always a close ally of Secretary Okuno.
敵対の派閥に渡すくらいなら自分の派閥の誰かにそのポストを要求してもおかしくないと思いますが。
I think it would be much more natural to demand the post be assigned to someone from the same faction.
確かに。
True.
それでも党内ではさしたる反対もなく、すんなりと人事が進んでいるらしい。
Nevertheless, the party expressed very little opposition, and the appointment is progressing smoothly.
だからこそ余計に異様さが目立っているんだがね。
That's what makes this all so suspicious.
しかし、それ以上に変なのは奥野長官だ。
But what's even more peculiar is Secretary Okuno.
入院したのはいいが、病名が不明でね。
He was hospitalized, but we don't know what for.
また、過労で絶対安静という割には、派閥の議員たちが秘密裏に病院を往来している。
Also, for someone bedridden from overwork, he sure has a lot of his faction members secretly going in and out of the hospital.
それは
Huh? Then, it was definitely suspicious. If these were just standard hospital visits, there would be no need to keep them secret. What's more, he called his proteges there. Maybe this illness is just a farce to prevent the information from leaking to the media. Kuno-san pensively looked down while lighting a second cigarette. Just as he said, Secretary Kuno was acting suspicious for someone who'd supposedly been suddenly hospitalized.
奥野長官の辞任の件裏に何かあるんでしょうか？
Could there be something behind Secretary Kuno's resignation?
わからない。
I don't know.
ただ、ないよりも、あると考えた方がいいだろうな。
However, it seems more prudent to think there is rather than isn't.
あるいは、あったか。
Or maybe there was.
いずれにしても、奥野長官には奇妙な組織がいくつも紐付きでぶら下がっているようだから。
In any case, Secretary Kuno seems to have several ties with strange organizations.
明日から私は室長の命令で奥野派の動向について監視を行うことになった。
So starting tomorrow, director has ordered me to monitor the activities of the Kuno faction.
なるほど。
I see. At last I was beginning to grasp the situation. In other words, Kuno-san needed my team to monitor the Okuno Chiba or Imamura party leads.
わかりました。
Understood.
早速私の部下たちも招集します。
I'll get my men together immediately.
あとは
Also,
そう早がてんしないでくれ。
not so fast.
それなら私じゃなく片岡室長が全体に命令を下しているはずじゃないか。
If that's what this was about, Director Kataoka would be the one giving that order, not me.
君にお願いしたいのは実は他にも極秘のことだ。
What I want to ask of you is it's actually something else, strictly top secret. Huh? After saying that, Kanao-san pulled a document from his breast pocket and spread it out in front of him. It contained a list of names for about 20 companies and organizations, with something written next to them.
これは
What is this?
奥野長官が前回の総選挙で得た政治献金の団体リストだ。
A list of political contributions towards Secretary Okuno's last election.
そこの下の方見覚えないか？
Does the one on the bottom look familiar? I diligently scanned the list and opened my eyes wide when I saw a specific name. The name Sonozaki, It was the name of one of the 3 families governing Hinamizawa Village, who led the villagers in the anti-dam protest campaign.
なんで園崎家が奥野長官に献金を？
Why did the Sonozaki family donate to Secretary Okuno?
わからない。
I don't know.
奥の長官の地元というわけでもないし、5年前のダム建設反対運動で何らかの斡旋を受けた様子も見当たらない。
They don't live anywhere near Secretary Okuno, and he never did anything in support of the anti-dam movement from 5 years ago.
また、それ以上に奇妙な噂もある。
Also, there's an even stranger rumor.
噂？
Rumor.
災害だよ。
The disaster.
ひなみ沢で起こった例の。
The one that happened in Hinamizawa. The conversation had suddenly shifted in a strange and unexpected direction. It was on the TV just a moment ago, the Great Hinamizawa disaster. Volcanic gas burst from Onikafuchi Swamp and into the village late in the night. The death toll was over 2,000 villagers. Even 3 days after the incident, the Hinamizawa area remained completely blockaded. Rumors and misinformation spread across the country, and people were stricken with a terrible fear of the unknown. The cause of the gas release still remains a total mystery. Since there were no warning signs, finding the cause has proven extremely difficult. 5 years ago, I was investigating the kidnapping of the Minister of Construction's grandson. I spent some time in Hinamizawa Village as part of that investigation, and while I was there, I met a strange girl named Rika Furude.
Akasaka.
Akasaka?
東京へ
Baby
帰る
Rika. Go back to Tokyo. I forgot how tiny she looks in this. Go back to Tokyo.
もうどうにもならないことです。
There's nothing that can be done. Back then, she made that mysterious prophecy to me with an innocent smile on her face. Every subsequent year, a murder will occur in Hinamizawa at the night of the festival, and my wife will die in an instant. It was also ominous, and frighteningly, all her predictions eventually came true. Rika Furude. I'll never forget her. I wonder if the great disaster claimed her life as well.
その災害さ。
That disaster.
一晩で村が全滅してしまったというあれのこと。
Where the village was destroyed overnight. That's the one. Kanao-san's voice pulled me back to reality, and then he revealed to me some more astonishing information.
実はあの事件。
Actually, regarding that incident.
政府は事前に災害を予測していたんじゃないかっていう噂が出ているんだよ。
There are rumors that the government had predicted it beforehand.
日時まで特定できるほど詳細に。
In detail, down to the date and time. Huh? Predicted the disaster?
それ本当の話なんですか？
Is there any truth to the story?
今の科学技術でそんなことができるなんて聞いたことがないですよ。
As far as I know, no modern science or technology is capable of that.
原理は知らない。
I don't know their methods.
私は地質学者じゃないからね。
I'm not a geologist.
ただ、それにしては救援活動の初出が早すぎる。
However, the relief efforts began far too quickly.
しかもレスキュー隊のリーダー格の中には、上長の命令でその日の年休を直前になって取り消された者もいるらしいんだ。
Plus, it seems there were several lead members of the rescue team who received orders from their superiors to cancel their vacation plans just the day before.
No.
What? Particularly specialized technicians, many of them were veterans who could handle even unprecedented situations. Could that be evidence that this wasn't an unexpected disaster like a fire or earthquake, but something that was anticipated?
しかしです。
But even so,
もし事前に分かっていたとすれば、みすみす村人全員を見殺しにしたということになります。
if this was known in advance, that means they allowed all this unsuspecting villagers to die.
数にして2000人ですよ。
2,000 total casualties, right?
まだ増える勢いだそうだね。
And still growing, I've heard.
それが本当なら、天災じゃなくて人災ってことじゃないですか。
If that's the case, then does that mean this wasn't a natural disaster but something man-made?
冗談じゃない。そんなことあっていいはずが。
This is no joke. They never allow something like...
赤坂君、声が大きいよ。
Kasuga-kun, keep your voice down. Oh,
すみません。
sorry. Kanao-san calmly stood up, then opened the door to crack to peek outside. Even though we were in a locked room, there was always a chance that noise could leak out. Unfortunately, he was able to verify that nobody was in the hallway, so he continued speaking in a hushed tone.
君の言う通り、それが本当だったら大スキャンダルだ。
As you say, if that were true, it would be a huge scandal.
官房長官の辞任とか内閣の支持率とかなんて話じゃなく、国家の屋台骨がひっくり返るかもしれない。
Far bigger than the chief cabinet secretary's resignation. It wouldn't just ruin the credibility of the cabinet members, it would turn the backbone of the nation upside down.
だから、奥の長官の入院と人事異動は、そいつの真相を永遠に闇に葬るための最終手段だったんじゃないかという疑いがあるんだ。
And so, there's a possibility that Secretary Okuno's hospitalization and resignation were a last resort to bury that dark truth forever.
しかし、なぜそんなことが。
Even so, why do such a thing?
わからない。
I don't know.
だが、タイミングが良すぎるのがどうも引っかかっているんだよ。
The timing is just too perfect.
未曾有の災害が起き、予知が可能だったと噂が出たのはその数日後。
A few days after an unprecedented disaster occurred, rumors started to fly that the whole affair was known in advance.
そしてその翌日には官房長官が入院。
And then the following day, the chief cabinet secretary was suddenly in the hospital.
つまり、あの災害はいわゆる人災で、だからこそ予知ができた。
In other words, they were able to predict the disaster because it was man-made.
憶測の域を出ないが、そう考えても不自然はないだろう。
I don't want to get too far into speculation, but when you think about it that way, the pieces seem to fit together.
状況から判断すると、野党側の追及を避けるために奥の長官が事件の幕引きを図った可能性は否定できなくもない。
Judging by the situation, you can't deny the possibility that Secretary Okuno tried to sweep the incident under the rug to avoid allegations from opposing parties.
なるほど。
I see. In other words, could there be a political conflict behind all of this? A secret that, if exposed, could ruin the political careers of many party leaders. If that was the source of all this, it would be a huge scandal. The gravity of the matter had me sweating profusely across my entire body.
それで、私に何を？
In that case, what do you need from me?
君は以前、ひなみ沢に行ったことがあったよね。
You've been to Inamazawa before, haven't you?
覚えてるかい？
Do you remember it well?
ええ、もちろんです。
Yes, of course.
政府の災害予知に関する情報は他に当たらせている。
I'll have others look into the info about the government predicting the disaster.
君には、ひなみ沢絡みの情報を集めてもらいたいんだ。
I want you to gather information on the involvement of Hinamazawa. Had Hinamazawa ever experienced a gas leak like this in the past? Were there any other incidents or accidents that seem related to the gas disaster? And was there something behind this gas disaster or not? Just learning that much didn't seem like an unreasonable goal. Unfortunately, Hinamazawa is now a restricted area, and all the residents have passed away. Even if I asked around, I had little hope of uncovering any new information.
それから、
Also,
申し訳ないんだが、この件については単身で当たってもらいたいんだ。
I need you to handle this case alone.
私一人で。
Me alone?
あ
Yeah.
あ、情けない話だが、この件について信用のできる捜査員が意外に少ない。
It pains me to say this, but there are very few investigators I can trust this matter with.
理由はわかるだろ？
You understand the reason, right? Kanao-san glanced at me with a bitter expression. He was probably referring to those large-scale allegations that our groups worked together on the other day. It was an unusual story. There was certainly a strong political influence, so I could understand why the higher-ups ordered the investigation to be suspended. However, despite given the wealth of evidence we collected and the high probability of success, the higher-ups never provided an explanation for why they made that order. Thanks to that all-too-perfect timing, Kanao-san and I had developed a suspicion that someone on the inside was possibly leaking our investigation data.
この前の件もあって、私のところは古い部下でさえ、どこで誰と繋がっているかわからない現状だ。
And after that previous case, I can't be certain who my old colleagues are connected with.
君のところは？
What about you and your colleagues?
いえ。お恥ずかしいことですが。
No, I'm ashamed to say the same.
だろうね。
I figured as much.
そんなわけだから、赤坂君に頼みたいんだ。
That's why I'm asking you, Akasuka-kun.
ちょうど火球に関わっている山はないみたいだしね。
Looks like your plate just cleared up of any urgent cases, too.
それも、例の件がなくなったせいなんですが。
That's also because of the case being suspended, though.
それはお互い様だよ。
Same goes for me.
それに一度とはいえひなみ沢の地に足を踏み入れたことのある君ならそこいらの捜査員よりも勘とか人脈とかがあるんじゃないか。
Besides, you've been to Inamazawa before, so you probably have better intuition and more personal connection than any other investigator, right?
加納さんにそう言って信頼してもらえるのは光栄なんですが。
Kanao-san, I'm honored to hear that you have such faith in me, but even though you mentioned my intuition and personal connections, 5 years have passed since then. Even if I tried to gather information, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere without cooperation from the locals. I immediately thought of Detective Oishi. That's right, he was the old detective from Okinomiya Station I worked with on the case from 5 years ago. You might be able to provide some assistance.
しかし、大丈夫だろうか。
But would that be alright? My only concern was whether or not he was caught up in the disaster. Although he's from a neighboring town, I couldn't deny the possibility that he would try to help the villagers during a disaster. Of course, I didn't want to suspect the worst, but...
こちらからのつっつきは極力控えるが見込みがありそうだったら連絡してくれたまえ。
I'll do my best to avoid poking around, but please contact me if things are heading in a good direction.
それ以外は何か気になることがあった時に報告してくれるだけでいい。
Aside from that, just report in when you find something important.
留守中の代理は誰かいる？
Do you have someone who can fill you in on your absence?
そうですね。川島君に頼みます。
Well, I'd go with Kawashima-kun.
彼なら口も固いし、信頼できます。
He has a stiff upper lip, and I think we can trust him.
うん。
Yeah.
雲をつかむような話で申し訳ないが、やってもらいたい。
I'm sorry for asking you of something so unreasonable, but I'd like you to do it.
頼んだよ。
I'm counting on you.
わかりました。
Understood. After that exchange, Kanao-san gave me a pat on the shoulder and walked out of the room. As I started walking to the door, my memories began flowing back to me.
ひなみ沢か。
Hinamizawa, huh? Returning to my office, I fell back into my seat and took a deep breath. I never thought I'd be involved with Hinamizawa again. It felt like fate had tied me to Hinamizawa. It's just like me, for real, for real. 5 years ago, right before I lost my wife.
あなたはさっさと東京に帰った方がいい。
You should definitely go back to Tokyo right away.
でないとひどく後悔することになる。
If not, you'll woefully regret it. Back then, Rika Furude certainly did give me that warning. And then, I found out the following day that my wife had died. I was overwhelmed with regret, just as she predicted. Even now, it's a memory that haunts me. But what was even more frightening was that it would continue to happen every year. I was still worried about her prophecies even after returning to Tokyo, so when I had free time I would spend it looking into Hinamizawa. My wife's death wasn't the only one she predicted 5 years ago. In 1979, the damned construction foreman would become the victim of the dismemberment murder. The following year, June 1980, 2 victims would fall to their deaths. And the following year, June 1981, the priest of the Furude family would die, and his wife would go missing. Then in June 1982, another person was beaten to death. And then in June the following year, Rika Furude would die. All of her predictions came true. Last June, my spine was completely frozen over as I looked over the accuracy rate. In June 1983, is this year, of course, I still haven't confirmed the death of Rika Furude. However, an unprecedented gas disaster struck the village just days ago, and the prospects looked grim. I don't understand why her predictions came true, but after hearing her prophecies 5 years ago, I began to grow deeply concerned for Hinamizawa. And so, it seems like fate that I should be involved with Hinamizawa again. Back then, was Rika Furude asking me to change the future? In the end, I was astonished to learn that it happened every year, yet I did nothing except sit idly by. And as a result, did I allow the gas disaster to occur and claim Rika Furude's life? Thinking of it that way, the feelings of guilt came rushing back to me.
赤坂さん、電話が入っています。
Kasuka-san, you have a phone call.
内線8番です。
It's extension number 8.
あ、
Oh, okay. Detective Nimi's voice brought me back to my senses, and I picked up the receiver. And, as I pushed the 8 button, the person waiting for me on the other end was...
どうも、ご無沙汰しております。
Greetings! It's been a long time! Hearing that voice for the first time in 5 years brought back memories.
どうもどうも。
Thank you, thank you.
沖宮署の大石です。
This is Oishi from Okinomiya Station.
私のこと覚えていらっしゃいますか？
I don't suppose you remember me, no.
大石さん
Oishi-san. I felt a sense of relief as I heard that booming laughter on the other side of the receiver and quickly moved the receiver away from my ear.
そうですそうです。
Right.
覚えていてくださって光栄ですよ。
I'm honored that you remember me.
覚えてるも何も。ご無事でしたか？
Of course I remember. So you're alright?
いやー、よかった。
Ah, thank goodness.
テレビで見て、ずっと心配していたんですよ。
Seeing everything on TV had me really worried, you know?
そうでしたか。
You know? Oh, really?
いやいや、心配をさせてしまってすみませんでしたね。
No, I'm sorry if I made you worry.
いえ、大石さんならきっとご無事だと信じていましたから。
No, I was sure you'd be safe, Oishi-san.
それより、急にどうしたんです？
But more than that, why are you calling so suddenly?
何かご用でも？
Is there anything you need?
いやね。
Well, you see...
実は私、今東京に来てるんですよ。
Actually, I'm heading to Tokyo right now.
どうです赤坂さん。今日ちょっとだけお時間ありますか？
Do you have some free time later today, Akasuka-san? With impeccable timing, I felt the hand of fate at work again.
ええ、大丈夫です。
Yeah, that's fine.
私もちょうど大石さんにご相談したいことがあったんですよ。
Actually, I have something I want to discuss with you too.
そりゃよかった。
Oh, that's perfect.
じゃあ、お近くまで伺いますね。
Well then, I'll let you know when I get there. Another person related to Hinamizawa is drawn to me. Feels like it's my destiny to uncover the truth of Hinamizawa.
どうも赤坂さん。
Hello, Akasuka-san.
ちっともお変わりありませんな。
You haven't changed a bit.
いやいや、私なんてまだまだですよ。
No, I'm still moving along.
大石さんこそお元気そうで何よりです。
And you seem to be doing pretty well yourself, Oishi-san.
少し顔つきがたくましくなりましたかね。
You look like you've gotten a little more reliable.
それにお世辞が上手くなった。
And much better at flattery.
そんな本気で言ってるんですよ。
Hey, I'm being serious here.
そりゃ嬉しいな。
Happy to hear that. No. It's been a while since I last saw Oishi-san, but he hasn't changed a bit. I'm glad. This was our first meeting in 5 years, so we had a lot to talk about. So, we talked for a while and shared stories of glory and bravery, but we wouldn't go on like that forever. So once Oishi-san's iced coffee ran out, he called a nearby waitress. Then, he ordered 2 more glasses. After the waitress dropped them off and walked away, I took the opportunity to cut in.
で、大石さんがはるばる東京までいらっしゃった理由は？
So, why'd you come all the way to Tokyo, Oishi-san?
まあ、最初にこれを見てもらえませんか？
Well, first, could you take a look at this? After saying that, Oishi-san slid me a pile of documents. It was a list of victims from the Great Hinamizawa disaster.
今回の大災害、お悔やみ申し上げます。
Please accept my condolences for this terrible disaster. As I received the list, I lowered my head. Oishi-san stayed silent and just shook his head to let me know no concern was necessary. He probably knew a lot of people who passed away. That thought brought an ache to my chest.
それは亡くなった村人のリストです。
This is the list of villagers who died.
行方不明者も入ってますから、正確なものではありませんけどね。
There are also some people who are still missing, so it's not an exhaustive list. I stared down at the list, ready to devour it. Carefully looking through it, I let out an exasperated sigh once I found the name I was looking for.
やはりダメだったのか。
It was all useless after all.
赤坂さん、誰かご存知の方でも？
Kasuka-san, was there someone you knew?
あ、いえ、
Oh, no.
これはもう確定の情報ですか？
Has this information already been confirmed?
ええ、
Yes.
沖宮に派遣された救護隊員から内々に渡してもらったものですから。
This was given to me by a rescue worker dispatched to Okinomiya. I reviewed the list a second time and stared at the line where the name Rika Furude was listed. Since the moment I heard about the catastrophe, I was prepared for this. Nevertheless, in the depths of my heart, I still believed in miracles, and that only made my grief even worse.
こんな大惨事が昭和のこんな時代になって起ころうとは。
The notion that a disaster like this could happen even in the modern era is absolutely heartbreaking.
ええ、まったく。
Yes, absolutely.
ですが、赤坂さん。
But Akasuka-san,
それより今回のひなみ沢大災害にはいろいろと腑に落ちないところがあるんですよ。
there are still a lot of things about the Great Hinamazawa disaster that don't sit right with me. Huh?
腑に落ちないところですか？
Things that don't sit right. Hearing Oishi-san say that, I recalled what Kanao-san and I discussed earlier.
実はあの事件、政府は事前に災害を予測していたんじゃないかっていう噂が出ているんだよ。
Actually, regarding that incident, there are rumors that the government had predicted it beforehand.
日時まで特定できるほど詳細に。
In detail, down to the date and time. No way. Could Oishi-san know something about that? Maybe he had some important clues related to Kanao-san's theory. I quickly leaned forward and my palms grew sweaty. Knees weak, mom spaghetti, as I waited for him to continue his story.
このひなみ沢の火山ガス災害が
Rumor has
た
it
たりによって引き起こされたって噂。
Rumor has it that the volcanic gas disaster in Yamazawa was caused by a curse.
ご存知ですか？
Did you know?
Huh?
Huh?
たたり？
A curse. However, the explanation Oishi-san raised sounded laughable. It was quite the damper on my building enthusiasm. After all that, a supernatural term like curse came up.
何ですかそれは？
What was that?
初めて聞きましたが。
This is the first I've heard of it.
なあ、赤坂さんはご存知ないかもしれませんがね。
Ah, Kasuka-san, you may not know this.
ひなみ沢村では毎年たたりが起こっているんですよ。
But every year a curse is struck in Hinamazawa village.
お社様のたたりが毎年6月に綿流しの日にね。
The curse of Oyashiro-sama happens in June every year, on the day of Wadanagashi.
まさかそんなこと。
No way, can't. But something struck me before I could finish talking. Wadanagashi, an icy chill ran down my entire body upon hearing that word. And then I remembered the prophecy I heard from Rika Furude 5 years ago. Here comes baby Rika again.
平和が
Peace
この村に
in this village?
これから毎年血生臭いことが起きるのに
Even though every year from now on something bloody will occur? Tee-hee-hee-hee. That was when she told me in detail about the tragedies that would unfold in Hinamazawa over the next 4 years, and they all actually came true. Even that they would all occur on the day of Wadanagashi in June.
しかしそれではあのガス災害もたたりだって言うんですか？
But in that case, are you saying that the gas disaster is the work of the curse too?
神様のような頂上の存在がありえない力を振るって天変地異を起こしたと。
That a supernatural being like a god used their incredible power to cause a natural disaster? Is that it? Although, that said, a part of me still thought the idea was ridiculous. Even if someone was carrying out serial murders every year under the guise of a curse, it was hard to believe that they would try to kill over 2,000 people this year. But Oishi-san already seemed to see through my doubts.
いやいやいいんですよ。まともな人間ならありえないって一生に付すのが普通です。
No, it's okay. A normal person would laugh at the notion and brush it off as impossible.
でもね、私にはどうも気になってしょうがないんですよ。
But for someone like me, I can't help but think about it.
5年目のたたりがあの大災害だみたいな言い方をしている人もいますがね、それは私も違うと思う。
Some people are saying that disaster is the curse of the 5th year, but I think differently.
5年目のたたりは別にちゃんとあったんですから。
Because the actual curse of the 5th year was something different.
たたりは別にあった。
The curse was something different?
ええ。
Right.
綿流しの村祭りの日に殺人事件があったんです。
There was a murder on the night of the Wadnagashi festival.
その犠牲者は富武二郎っていう旅行写真家で、自らの爪で喉を引き裂いての変死。
The victim was a traveling photographer named Jiro Tomotake, who killed himself by clawing out his own throat with his fingernails.
たたりと呼ぶにふさわしい不可解な死に方でした。
It was a death mysterious enough to be called the work of a curse.
で次に、その富武氏の恋仲だったという高野って女性が岐阜の山中で行方不明に。
And after that, a woman named Takano, who happened to be Tomotake's lover, went missing in the Gifu Mountains.
こちらはしばらくのち焼死体で発見されました。
Her burned corpse was found shortly thereafter.
何かの偶然ではなさそうですね。
That doesn't seem like a coincidence, does it? Though I was terribly shocked, I tried to control my breathing to stay calm. My heart rate skyrocketed when I heard the ominous premonitions. It was hard to breathe.
他にもまだ続きがあるんですよ。
Besides, there's more.
その数日後に古出リカという巫女の娘が殺されましてね。
A few days later, the young shrine maiden Rika Furude was murdered. Huh? Rika Furude? That girl was murdered?
ちょっと待ってください、大石さん。
Please wait, Oishi-san.
今なんて。
What was that just now?
古出リカ、古出神社の神主の娘です。
Rika Furude, the daughter of the Furude shrine priest.
赤坂さんは彼女のことをご存知でしたよね。
Ah, you met her, didn't you, Kasuka-san?
ええ、
Yes.
5年前のあの時に。
Back then, 5 years ago.
私が殺されます。
I will be killed. Just then, I thought back to the words that Rika-chan told to me alone, and my mind went blank. I thought it was the disaster that killed her. But that wasn't the truth. And just as the prophecy 5 years ago predicted, someone killed her?
翌日の昼頃に神社に訪れた村の老人たちが古出リカの死体を発見したんですがね。
The elders in the village who visited the shrine the next day found Rika Furude's corpse around noon.
いや、お知り合いならあまり詳しくは知らない方がいいでしょう。
No. If you know her, it's probably best you don't hear any more about it.
いえ、
No.
聞かせてください。
Please, tell me. I leaned forward. There was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to hear the truth.
死体は神社の境内、賽銭箱の脇に寝かされていました。
Her corpse was found in the shrine grounds, resting beside the offering box.
衣服の着用はなく、本人以外の複数の足跡が発見されております。
Her body was nude, and we identified multiple sets of footprints other than hers.
おそらく他の場所で殺害されて神社に運ばれたものと。
She was probably killed elsewhere and brought to the shrine. In consideration for my closeness to Rika Furude, Oishi-san carefully chose his words to avoid inciting me, then continued.
薬物で昏睡させられてからあの場所へ運ばれ、
She
腹部を切開されたようです。
was drugged, and her unconscious body was brought there. And then, seemed they sliced open her abdomen.
ひどくむごいありさまでした。
It was a horrible sight to behold.
昏睡？
Unconscious?
生きながら腹を裂かれたということですか？
You're saying she was still alive when they ripped her open? Just then, a picture slipped out from Oishi-san's file. Ah! Poor Rika. Oh, the image is so scary still. It was a picture of what remained of Rika Furude.
失礼。
I'm sorry. Oishi-san rushed to grab the picture in a panic, but the miserable image of Rika Furude was already firmly burned into my mind. Her cloudy eyes were open, staring vacantly above, and her abdomen was sliced open wide. It was so cruel it pained me just to breathe. Even though she predicted her own death, the fact that it actually happened was haunting. Did she know how cruel her death would be? Was there nothing that could be done? Did she have to be swallowed by fate? What the hell is going on?
凶楽目的の類
Was it
なんでしょうか。
some kind of thrill killing?
さあ、
No clue.
まだ星は上がっていないんですよ。
We still don't have a suspect.
しかしですね、赤坂さん。
But Akasuka-san,
私はこれは単なる猟奇殺人じゃないと睨んでいます。
I'm beginning to think this is far more than a simple murder.
ちなみに、ひなみ沢の綿流しのお祭りのことはご存知で？
Incidentally, are you familiar with the Wadnagashi festival in Hinamazawa?
6月の村祭りですよ。
It's a village festival in June.
布団の綿を川に流すってことくらいなら。
They set cotton from futons to drift down the river. I vaguely remember the story and answered as such. Then,
ひなみ沢村のお祭りの綿流しってのはそもそも綿流し、つまり臓物流しから転じたものらしいんです。
the Wadnagashi festival in Hinamazawa didn't originally mean cotton drifting, though. The wata in the name originally referred to organs.
何でも人食い鬼たちが犠牲者をばらして内臓を川に捨てたという昔話から転じたらしいんですよ。
It's based on an old tale. Man-eating demons would devour their victims and throw the organs down the river.
つまり、ひなみ沢村においては、内臓を引きずり出すことに宗教的な意味があったと。
In other words, you're saying that pulling out internal organs has some religious meaning in Hinamazawa?
え
Yes.
え。で、ひなみ沢村の昔話によるとですね、
You see, according to the ancient legends of Hinamazawa village,
人食い鬼と人間が仲良く暮らすための調停者としてお社様という神様が降臨しているってことになっているらしいんですよ。
they say that Oyashiro-sama was a god that descended there to end the fighting between humans and man-eating demons. Supposedly.
フルデリカはそのお社様の生まれ変わりだと村では言われていました。
The villagers believed that Rika Furude was the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama.
お社様の生まれ変わり？
Reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama?
はい。
Right.
ですからその荒人神であるフルデリカを回復して殺すのは村の信仰に対するこれ以上ない冒涜行為と言えるわけですよ。
So, safe to say that there's no crime more profane in the villagers' eyes than disemboweling and murdering their reincarnated goddess, Rika Furude.
つまり、お社様への冒涜が起きたということですか？
In other words, this is an act of blasphemy against Oyashiro-sama?
ねえ、そういうことです。
Yes, precisely.
合災害が起きたのはフルデリカが殺された晩のことです。
And the gas disaster occurred in the evening after Rika Furude was killed. Oisha-san nodded in agreement. The gas disaster occurred immediately after the blasphemy against Oyashiro-sama. I was beginning to see what he was talking about. Then the person or group responsible for the curse must be well versed in the history of Hinamazawa.
それに有毒ガスが発生した沼の名前ご存知ですか？
Do you know the name of the swamp where the toxic gas released from?
鬼ヶ淵沼って言うんです。
It's called Onigafuchi Swamp. Now, us as being readers of the whole story at this point, we already know all this. It is interesting at least to see kind of a bit them re-piece it together. Obviously, we've got Tomoe's gonna get thrown into this group in a bit, so it's kind of interesting. Knowing all the answers kind of that we do, them going piece by piece in a different context. Do you know the name of the swamp where the toxic gas released from? It's called Onigafuchi Swamp.
Oni?
Oni?
はい、鬼です。
Oni means demon.
ひなみ沢村の旧名は鬼ヶ淵村って言うんです。
The original name of Hinamazawa is actually Onigafuchi Village.
あれは村名の由来ともなる象徴的な沼なんですよ。
The swamp is so symbolic that the village's original name came from it.
この沼の奥底は地獄につながっていて、人食い鬼たちはこの沼から訪れた。
They say the bottom of the swamp is connected to hell, and that's where the man-eating demons originate from.
なんて話が村人たちの間ではまことしやかに言い伝えられています。
That's the story the villagers have been telling each other for generations.
すると、お社様の逆鱗に触れて、沼から鬼がやってきて、村を滅ぼしたってことになりますか？
And when Oishiro-sama's wrath was invoked, demons emerged from the swamp and destroyed the village?
その通りに有毒ガスが発生して
In
村
reality,
が滅んだ。
in reality, toxic gas emerged from the swamp and destroyed the village.
でもそれはいくらなんでもできすぎてやいませんか。
But doesn't the whole thing just sound too good to be true?
こんなところで驚いてちゃまだまだですよ。
There are a lot more surprises in store for us there.
さらに続きがあるんですから。
Because that's not all.
村の伝承では、お社様がお怒りになられると、地獄の釜が開いて正気が溢れ出す。なんて話です。
There's another story from the village. When Oishiro-sama becomes angry, gates of hell will open and a miasma will flow out.
地獄につながる鬼ヶ淵沼から正気。
The gate to hell is at the bottom of the Onagafuchi swamp.
つまり、ガスですよ。
So in other words, the miasma is the gas that was released.
それも予言のうちだと。
Was that also prophesized? I felt totally lost. The gas disaster was predicted by the village traditions? Could that be the real meaning behind Kano-san's government prediction theory? Could the death of Rika Furude be the impetus for the gas disaster? Could such a device exist at the bottom of the swamp? Impossible. No, maybe there was something to this. Could the villagers have kept such a device in the swamp in order to unite the village and maintain faith in Oishiro-sama? But if such a large-scale device was being set up, the villagers would have grown suspicious the moment it was installed. It's ridiculous that I'm talking such foolish theories seriously. Taking? Taking, not talking. But at this point, it's impossible to decide that there's no connection between the gas disaster and the villagers' belief in the curse. In reality, villagers believed in the curse and they referred to the murder incidents that occurred every year as the curse. Then, was the gas disaster caused by humans who believed in Oishiro-sama, who were angered by the murder of Rika Furude? Maybe it wasn't a natural disaster, but a targeted release of poisonous gas. That also sounded weird. If the intent was to annihilate the villagers, I couldn't understand why they would express it in a way that resembled Oishiro-sama's wrath. If you destroy all the believers living there, who is left to feel threatened by the curse? I desperately tried to organize the thoughts in my head. Still, one thing I could conclude from all this was that the probability that someone could have predicted the gas disaster was greater than 0.
大石さんは綿流しの日に毎年起こっていたひなみ沢村での連続開始事件の方はどう捉えていますか？
Oishi-san, what do you think is responsible for the serial murders that happen in Hinamazawa every year, on the day of Watnagashi?
連続事件は存在しないというのが県警の公式見解です。
The official opinion of the prefectural police is that these incidents are unrelated.
事件に連続性はなく、綿流しの日に毎年事件が起こるというのも偶然に過ぎず、個別の偶発的な事件あるいは事故に過ぎないと。
There's no connection between them. It's just a coincidence that each of these incidents or accidents that happen to occur each year on the day of Watnagashi.
そして今回の災害も偶発的なものだったと。
And then, this disaster was also an incident?
つまり誰もそこから一歩も踏み出そうとしないわけです。
In other words, nobody plans to pursue the case any further.
私が東京に来た理由、少しはお分かりいただけましたでしょうか。
So, are you starting to understand why I came to Tokyo? A series of murders occurred in Oishiro-sama's name, and it culminated in a disaster that destroyed the entire village. A vicious crime that exploited the village's beliefs. It seemed like a reasonable assumption. After Oishi-san finished speaking, he lit one of his favorite cigarettes and took a deep breath.
私、定年まであとわずかなんです。
I'm almost at retirement age.
ですから、在職中にどうしてもお社様のたたりを解明したい。
That's why I absolutely want to uncover the truth of Oishiro-sama's curse while I'm still in the office.
悲願なんですよ。
It's my only wish. The ice in Oishi-san's iced coffee had completely melted down. He turned toward a waiter behind him and held up the empty glass. Oishi-san continued investigating the case on his own, never wavering in his belief that the crime had a human culprit acting under their faith in Oishiro-sama. I think I learned what it really means to be a detective by looking up to elders like him. And this is my case, too. I've been thinking about Hinamazawa since I lost my wife 5 years ago. Now that the village is no more, it's time to unravel the mystery behind these prophecies. And, Rika-chan, if the tragedies unfolded just as she predicted, And there must have been some dark conspiracy behind it. I want to find the truth. No, I have to.
大石さん、
Oishi-san,
わかりました。一緒に調べましょう。
I understand. Let's do this together
お社様のことを。
and find the truth about Oishiro-sama.
ちょうど私もひなみ沢村について詳しく調べたいと思っていたんですよ。
I was just about to look more into Inamizawa myself.
お社様でも何でも徹底的に調べましょう。
Oishiro-sama or not, let's investigate until we've left no stone unturned.
ありがとうございます、赤坂さん。
Thank you, Akasuka-san.
あなたにご協力いただけると助かりますよ。
I'd be honored to have your cooperation. No. All the incidents up until now were treated as part of Oishiro-sama's curse, including the recent disaster. And my orders from Kanao-san were to investigate leads related to the disaster. Therefore, this curse is absolutely worth investigating.
お社様信仰の背後に何があるのか。
Is there something behind the Oishiro-sama faith?
事件の背後関係を
Let's
徹底的に洗いましょう。
thoroughly examine the background of this case.
何か見えてくるかもしれない。
And maybe we'll find something.
そうこなくちゃ。
That's the spirit! No! Oishi-san stood up with the receipt in hand. And so, our lengthy investigation began. The dynamic duo. Back at it like a bad habit. Alright, let's save it there. Let's call it there for today's reading. Not too long, actually. But we'll be back on this on Tuesday. I'll make sure Tuesday night, assuming there's a stream on Tuesday night, will be Higurashi reading, and I'll try to get quite a bit done there. I'm going to throw up a BRB. I'm going to get some water and stuff, and then I'll get Yakuza Kiwami 2 booted up. And we'll do that for the rest of the afternoon, for however long I end up doing it. So I'll be back shortly.